Meet Marjorie Johnson. She was born and raised in Minneapolis and now resides in the suburb of Robbinsdale, Minnesota. She got a reputation as a baker, having now won over 2,500 ribbons at the Minnesota State Fair. Now in her 9th decade of life and standing just a little under 5 feet tall, she doesn't cut a very imposing figure. But with her exceptional cooking skills, her zest for life, and a never-give-up attitude, she has achieved fame and fans that many celebrities would envy. We sat down with her to learn a little bit about what makes this extraordinary woman tick.
Yeah, all in North Minneapolis, yeah. I grew up in North Minneapolis, yeah. And when I grew up in North Minneapolis, it was a very, very nice town, yeah. There was my mother and father, and then we had 6 girls. I never had any brothers, but I was probably the most active of all my sisters. They were more quiet. I didn't like when I was little that I was so short. And then because in 1st grade, when I sat, and your feet have to touch the floor, and mine didn't, so the teacher said to the janitor, you have to build her a little stool. Well, I was the only one that needed that. So I didn't like that I wasn't like all the others. And also, because I was little, people thought that I wasn't capable or smart as I was. And so I remember when this group of girls, we were all in the choir or something, we were at the church and we were walking up the stairs and we were going to decide what something should be done. And so this girl was the tallest girl and I was the smallest, and I was about 2 steps behind her. So then I said, I think we should do whatever I thought. And then she looked down at me and she said, what you say doesn't count because you're too little. And I thought, oh boy, it really does. And so I didn't say anything to her, but I thought a lot, yeah. I remember one time we were going at Christmas to my aunt's house, and she didn't have any children, and my mother said to me, please act like a lady today, Marjorie. But she didn't tell me what you did when you acted like a lady. So I just sat on the chair and I didn't move, I think, all the time. And then my mother said after, oh, they thought that it was just wonderful. And see, I suppose I was up and down and running around and who knows what. I got interested in baking because my mother was this fabulous baker and cook, and she loved it. So I would help my mother. Somebody had to help my mother in the kitchen. Thank heavens I wanted to do it because I hate housework. You know what I think about housework? I think it's a necessary evil. You have to do it, but then the next day you got to do it over and over again. Well, with cooking you do too, but it's such fun to do the cooking. You know, I met Lee when we were at the university, but actually I didn't meet him in class because one thing, Lee and I, his family couldn't send him. He had to earn his way. My family couldn't send me. So we both had to earn our way. And had one of us not had to work, we never would have met. So he went to the Employment Bureau at the U, and they needed somebody, a yard man, out at this it was kind of like a boutique restaurant, and so then he got that job. Well, that same day on Friday, I went to the newspaper looking for a job, and they wanted a cook at the same place. So then I called, and they said, oh, the cook has already been filled. Would you be a salad girl? And I said, sure. I was dating this other fellow, and then it was in September. We'd been there all, and he left the state. And so then Lee said to me, because I saw him on Saturday night and we worked on Sunday, he called me Monday and said, you look so sad. Would you like to meet me Monday at the over there and eat, have lunch? I said, sure. So years later I said to him, did I really look so sad? He said, no, but wasn't that a good line to get a date? Yeah, and it was. So then, after I've had several dates for him, I thought, oh my gosh, this guy is just a gold mine of wonderful characteristics. Everything you could think of or ask for, he had it in abundance. he was so wonderful. I thought to myself, believe me, nobody's going to get him but me. I mean, he's going to marry me. I said, but of course I didn't tell him that because I didn't want to scare him away. So when we got home, because he was videoing it, and when we got home, he said to me, no, I had no idea, but you didn't know this. The minute I set eyes on you, I only had eyes for you. And I said, really? And he said, don't you remember that, see, I made salads and it was kind of connected to this dinner. And he said, don't you remember I stood in the doorway and talked to you while you made the salads? I should have lied, I'm too honest. I said, no, I didn't. Probably hurt his feelings, yeah. My mother would say, aren't you going to have any children? And then I said, oh, we're not ready. And the thing is, that we were so content, the two of us, I don't think we wanted anybody else in it. And so then it was starting to get my 30s, I better think about getting children if we're going to have any. So then I got out a list and put the pros to have children and the cons to have children. And you know, I think there were a lot more cons than pros. And so we still couldn't decide. We're on the fence. So then we thought, well, we just won't use any birth control. I got pregnant immediately. And then because I believe in Planned Parenthood, and I'd read a lot, I wanted my children 2 years apart. So 2 years later, first we had Marilee, then 2 years later we had Marlene, and then 2 years later we had Stephen, yeah. And it was good that the children had an introvert and an extrovert together because I was very excitable and everything all the time, and Lee was this calm Lee. But if there had been two of Lee, oh boy, that would have been kind of a boring house. It would have been so quiet. And if they'd had two of me, boy, the place would have been jumping. So it was good that they had, you know, his, and he was such a calming, in fact, he calmed me down. Oh, you know, well, the first time I entered the state fair, you know, and I think it was '74, and I hadn't entered contests before. I was just busy baking, and so then I entered like 4 things, and then you don't know if you win or anything. You have to come to the fair. So then I go to the fair and you look for your things, you know. And then when I saw something, oh boy, I get so excited. And I get, like somebody said after I'd gotten like hundreds of ribbons, and I saw a ribbon, and they said, I got so excited. And that person said, you think that was the first ribbon you ever won? But every one I get very excited about. On the local TV, because they were all there at the state fair, and then they would have somebody come and demonstrate one of their recipes. And so I was on quite a few times because I usually always got at least one blue ribbon and got more. And so then finally they started to call me before the fair was even over and said, would you come and demonstrate? I guess they felt that I would be winning a blue ribbon, yeah.
That you always look stunning in your red.
Yeah.
Why do you like red? What's the color red mean to you?
Right, because see now, so many of the chefs have white, you know, so I thought I'm going to have a signature outfit, and so be red, because I'm on TV so much. I don't want to think, what did I wear last time or that, or I mean, I want to wear the same thing so that I can concentrate on what I'm doing, you know.
And she looks good doing it. Marjorie Johnson says it takes a lot of practice to come up with those winning recipes, and she appreciates her family members, who she says are honest critics.
Yeah. And so that's how I actually got on national TV, because James Beard in New York had this Wheels on Meals, and they said this year it's going to be fairs across the country. That's the theme. Who do you have that wins blue ribbons and would be good? Well, I'd been on so much local TV, so they knew. So they gave my name, and because then they had me advertise it. Rosie had started her talk show in June of '96, and this was June of '96. So the producers were looking for people that they could have on the show. And so then in November, I was on the Rosie show, and then she liked me, and the viewers liked me, and the crew and everything. And so then she kept having me back, so that when her show ended in 2002, she decided it was enough. I was on that last show, and Yeah, and that was our 12th time that we'd been together. So then I thought, oh, this is really a fluke. I've been on national TV. That's not going to happen again. But the producers, of course, had to find new jobs. So some of them went to California, and Wayne Brady was just starting his talk show. So they got a job with him, and so they contacted me. And so then I was on his show, I think it was like about April or something. And then Rosie again had me. She was on The View, and then she had me, and this was December 12th, of 2006, yeah. And so then I got back to Minneapolis on December 13th. So I said to Lee, I'm going to the computer and see what emails I got. So then I came running to him. He was sitting in his room there. I said, you're never going to believe this. The Tonight Show wants me to call them. I met Jay, you know, and the first time I met him, it was in 2007, and then I was on, and we did a pie, I remember that time. And why so many people remember it, Terry Bradshaw was the other guest. Jay only always had 2 guests and then the music, so they were on first. So then Jay would say, come on over, you can help us. So Terry came over, and then by that time, we were just going to decorate. I did a pie, and so I said to Terry, well, you can decorate mine. And I had told the people that we dipped it with whipped cream. Well, I thought they'd have whipped cream in a pastry bag, because I had said to the producer, you know, Jay won't be able to do this. She said he loves when he can't do it and he's makes a mess. So, but what they did was give me Ready Whip in the can, you know. So I told Sarah to come over and do mine, so I gave him the. So then he's, they punch, it comes out. He's doing it all at once. He aims the Ready Whip at Jay and starts. And so, of course, Jay takes his Ready Whip and aims that at him. And so then I had on this red silk dress, and I had just had it dry clean. And I thought, oh boy, I don't want to get any of that whipped cream on me. So I stepped aside and then Terry goes and takes the pie that had whipped cream and starts to go at Jay. So then Jay runs off the stage. And then by the time he came back, Terry had settled down, yeah. And so then Jay comes to me, and he puts his arm around me, and he says, oh, Margie, I'll protect you from that Terry. I won't let him get at you. Well, Jay had whipped cream in his hair. He had whipped cream, everything. And so when he came to hug me, I got whipped cream all over my dress and everything. I should have sent him a dry cleaning bill, but I thought, this is my first time. I'm not making any waves. I'll just dry clean it again, yeah. I covered the Emmys, and I covered the People's Choice and Golden Globes and all of the one thing I didn't get to do was the Oscar. And so then they sent me out on the red carpet, and I had this basket, and I had a red lining on it, and then where I filled it with ginger snaps. And so then I had the Tonight Show mic, and so then they'd come down, and I'd say, would you like a ginger snap? And they did. And I remember when Pam Anderson came, she was with Kid Rock at the time, and he was talking to me, and so I didn't get a chance to ask her if she wanted a cookie. And she said, can I have a cookie? I said, you sure can. But I thought, where is she going to put it? Because the dress was cut to here and down to there, but she really wanted that ginger snaps. And you know, my ginger snaps are good, but I bet they taste like manna from heaven, because these gals probably haven't had anything since breakfast, and they want to fit into those little gowns. I was on again in February and did something, and then I was back to New York to do Rosie. Well, then on May, I was back again with Jay and did a coffee cake. And then when I had finished, I went to my dressing room, and then a lot of other producers came, and then he said to me, do you know a lot about sports? And I said, I don't know anything about sports. And they said, oh, we were going to send you down to San Antonio to covered the basketball finals. And I said, oh, you were? Well, I'll just go to the internet and I'll find out all about it. And so they really did want me to go. So they did believe me, and I did. I went to the internet, I always do my homework. I had 22 pages just on the Spurs alone. And then when I did that, then they said in August, we're going to send you down to LA to cover the X Games. And I had never heard of the X Games. I didn't know what it was. Oh, and so then later I had said to Jay, gosh, I thought, I hope he's not sending me to something that's X-rated. And when I told Jay that, he said, no, we wouldn't send you right away. We would wait a while because you're so new. And then, of course, I found out the X Games was extreme sports. Prize-winning ginger snaps that I made.
That would go good with Jack. That's, yeah.
See, I've never had anybody dip my cookies in Jack Daniels. Is that really Jack Daniels, or is it that water?
I don't drink water.
Oh, I see. What did you say you like to be called?
I'm the biker bitch.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You like that name?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've been married for 25 years, so we have to do different things to just,
right.
keep things going, right?
Right,
Didn't
yeah.
you do that?
No, I've been there 60 years, and we haven't had to do anything like that.
And you were never his biker bitch?
No, no.
Marjorie, you real biker chick. Can I have one? Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with John Laura Kell. Do they have these in Sweden? You want
You know, Martha Stewart decided to have this pie contest, and the pie people in Florida, they have this pie annual contest, and she had wanted me to enter that, but I didn't, because all the other contests pay your way and everything. You got to pay your own way to go to the contest and everything. Oh, I'm not interested. But anyway, she wanted to, she told me about this and said, I got 9 spots or something. Do you want one of them? And so I thought about it, and then I thought, okay, I'll do that. I knew I had to make the pie at home and carry it. Well, I love pecan pie, and I've noticed, like I would enter that at the Anoka Fair. The other pies would get moldy and everything, but that pecan pie looked exactly like, it's sort of indestructible. So I thought, well, I'll do the pecan pie. But of course, I had to make a new type of pecan pie. And so then I used the English toffee, which I loved, and created that one. And so then she decided that she would do this English toffee pecan pie. And then she said, Marjorie Johnson. Well, I said to the woman assistant, did she say Marjorie Johnson? And she said, yes. Because I thought, probably I'm just hearing things. Yeah, and so then I think I went down, and they escorted me down there. And then she said she wanted me to come back the next day, which would have been the Monday. I mean, we did it, and said to do my pie. So then I did, and I did do the pie. And then I also did my banana cream pie, which is one of my very, very favorites. It's kind of a toasted coconut banana pecan pie. Boy, it's so good. And and so then I was on with her. And see this picture, there's my pecan pie, and there's her ribbon that she gave me. Yeah. So every year you get older and older. You can't stop that. But in my mind, I'm still way back there. I'm 40, and I run my life like I'm 39 or 40. And because I'm always open to new things, and I love to learn. Oh boy, that's like I love to read. There are so many things to learn. Sometimes I think I must not know anything, because you keep learning new and new things, and I like that, because that makes you interested in everything, because it makes life so wonderful, and then you have this zest for life. And you have to do 3 things. You have to exercise every day. Like they say, the minimum is 30 minutes a day. I used to, since we're near the drive up there, in the summer I would walk an hour every day. And then I do have a Nordic track, and I do have bikes, and I have this other stuff. for about the last, I'd say 6 or 7 years, I'm more, and every year I'm more concerned about what I'm eating. And so, yeah, I follow that Mediterranean diet. Or boy, I eat fruits and vegetables like there's no tomorrow. And then I love salmon. And I really don't care for the other fish, but thank heavens, and salmon is really the best with all the things. And you need that omega-3. And then I go into baked chicken, and I do bake it with the skin on. And I like the thighs because, see, that keeps it moist. But then the minute they're done, I take off the skin, and then we keep the bones, because I make the best chicken stock with those things. I have a bag in the freezer, so then I keep adding all this chicken or any, like on chicken wings, well, there's no meat in those little things, and so anything that's left, yeah. And so then when I make the chicken stock, I put all those bones in and then fill it with water, and then I simmer it for about 3 hours. So you see, you get all the bone marrow from those bones, which is, you know, full of really good stuff. And then, so then when it's done, then I have a drainer, and it gets all the bones and stuff, just throw them away. And I put it in the refrigerator, and the fat will raise to the top, so then I just scoop that off, because the skin and stuff does have fat, and you get the flavor, but you don't get any of the fat, so, oh boy. And then you add, you cook wild brown rice or wild rice, and then cook vegetables like onions and celery. But I have found that I can have 200 calories of dessert, and so I have it every evening. But then I have to decide, because I like them all. So I think, do I want a small ice cream cone today? Or do I want a nice fudge brownie with lots of fudge frosting? Or maybe I want just chocolates, you know. So then I decide, and you see there are 365 days, so what I don't have one day, I can have the next. So I can have my cake and eat it too, my ice cream, my pie. And I'm in my 90s now, and actually I look to see somebody has lived to be 117. So I guess I'd have to live to be 108 to feel that. But I'm going to get to 100 first, then 105, then 110, then 115. And yeah, and only though if I'm like I am today. I don't want to be able to not walk all by myself. I don't want a walker. I don't want a wheelchair. And I don't want to have any illnesses. And you know, now in my 90s, I have never had to take any pain pills. Like people get headaches or they got so many things, and I don't have to have prescription drugs. And it's all because the way I have lived. Yeah, I did that, and then I get my sleep. You need that 8 hours of sleep, especially they say whatever in your brain washes out, and so then you don't get Alzheimer's. Because I want to be as sharp as I am today. Who knows? I got the same sharpness I had. I'm not saying how much that was, but at least I haven't lost what I had. And yeah, and that's the way I want to be every year. And so, see, we're all masters of ourselves. And so whatever you want to be, you can be. Maybe it takes hard work, and it takes time, and it takes energy and all that, but it's all up to you. So that's so nice that everybody can be just who they want to be. They want to work at it. You know, in April 2007, the mayor proclaimed it Marjorie Johnson Day in Robbinsdale, and it was because he said, see, when I was on the Jay Leno Show, Jay would introduce me, he'd say, and now from Robbinsdale, Minnesota, here's Marjorie Johnson. They actually got top billing. And so he said, you have put, everybody knows now where Robbinsdale is, and you put it in such a positive light that we think that you should have your own day. And so he did this proclamation that says, whereas. And so then on April 30th, they had at the City Hall, they had this reception, and people could come and they served refreshments. And then we have the whiz bang, and so then I was made the Grand Marshal, and I rode in the parade. And yeah, and it all was because I'd been on Jay, and Robbinsdale was, he said, really, everybody will know where Robbinsdale is, yeah, because for 21 times he says, and here from Robbinsdale, Minnesota is Marjorie Johnson, yeah.